3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, and by the time you guys hear this, it'll be Monday, so I'll just say now, Happy Veterans Day to all those who serve and have served. We cannot thank you enough for your service, so thank you for everything that you do. Now to what a segue to talk about JoJo Rabbit. But I'm reviewing real quick JoJo Rabbit, the new film from Taika Waititi, and of course you know him from Thor Ragnarok, a movie that I didn't like that much at first. I believe I gave it a B-, I want to say, but Thor Ragnarok has really grown on me. That's a great freaking movie, and I that's something I'm buying. I love that movie. It's really, I dig it, but I think the movie people forget that he did, which you shouldn't. He was the director and the screenwriter on it. Is What We Do in the Shadows. Freaking love that movie, and don't think that it gets talked about nearly enough. I absolutely adore that film. But the interesting thing about JoJo Rabbit is that this is clearly just an insane movie, to put it mildly. I a couple weeks ago when Todd Phillips was talking about Joker, talking about how, you can't do comedy in 2019. I remember being really pissed off because my first thought was, we have a movie coming out later this year about a kid whose imaginary best friend is Adolf Hitler. Like, really? You can't do comedy in 2019? Maybe you're just bad at it. And the thing about this movie is, first off, the fact it got made and it's alone is insane to me. Because if you pitch a movie about a kid who has Hitler as an imaginary friend, I think if you ask 100 studios that, at least 90 of them are like, nah, we're good. So the fact that this got made at all is incredible. And Mr. Waititi, he's earned something just for getting this made. That's number one. Number two, it stars an unknown kid. This is his first movie, Roman Griffin Lewis. This kid is awesome. I can't believe this is his first movie. He plays JoJo. And the thing about this movie that makes it so, one of the many things that makes it so interesting, is that this German boy, JoJo, he's such a sweet kid, but he's a little asshole though too. And it's so interesting to watch the movie and watch him just be this Jew-hating little shit, and then see him slowly turn into being, a kid. And another thing I really do think we forget, and I'm jumping around here because there's so much I want to talk about with this movie. I think because Scarlett Johansson's been playing Black Widow for 10 years, I think people forget how amazing of an actress she actually is. And let's not forget, in between, Avengers movies, she did Under the Skin, which I freaking love that movie. She did Chef. She did Lucy, which I actually really like. She did Hail Caesar. Rough Night wasn't great. Ghost in the Shell. Less said about that, the better. But Scarlett Johansson is an incredible actress, and I think just because obviously she is very, very attractive, to put it mildly, and with the latest statement she made about how she should be allowed to play whatever she wants, obviously that's fucking ludicrous. Why the hell would you say that? But doesn't take away from her talent, and it was. I haven't seen Marriage Story yet. Obviously, we'll review that when it comes out later on, but later this year. But and Vicky Cristina Barcelona. I totally forgot about the movie, but she is someone who really does deserve more credit, and I thought this might be her best role, like outside of obviously Black Widow, because that's the best thing ever. But as far as her movie roles, this might be her best one. The relationship between Rosie and JoJo, it's so interesting to see from her perspective as a mom, seeing that they're growing up in Nazi Germany, which is the worst place for this kid to be. pardon me, for the worst place for this kid to be growing up in, and the fact that there is no dad around, it's just her and him, and how she has to try to keep that little bit of innocence he has alive by just being a mom and treating him like a kid, because the outside world where he's, they're talking about Hitler every day and training these kids to be, weapons of destruction, how she's trying everything she can at home to keep him as a kid when the outside world just wants to use him. And it's a really interesting dynamic that they delve into that I just loved the way that was absolutely portrayed. What's interesting about this movie too is that it starts off like a Paul Anderson movie. It starts off like something like Moonrise Kingdom, or even like something like a very indie movie in that sense. But then it takes this flip when JoJo discovers Elsa, who is played by I'm gonna butcher this, Thomasin McKenzie is what I'm gonna go with. This is really only her second role. She was in she's been in a couple movies, but nothing too big. Oh, okay. She was in The Hobbit. There you go. She was Astrid. But she is really great in this. And the chemistry between her and JoJo is it's very hilarious at first, because he discovers her and basically says, hey, if I go ahead and say that, I found you, I have a Jew hiding in our in our attic, you'll get in trouble, but then they'll get me in trouble. And so they kind of barter, and he basically tells her, you have to tell me all your Jew secrets. And so she tells him clearly all this bullshit that, we're attracted to shiny objects, and we don't grow our horns until like we're 21, and Jews are able to read each other's minds, like all this bullshit that he's writing down, going like, yep, that makes sense. And I was just dying. So I went and saw this with Alea, and there were multiple points where we just looked at each other like, oh my god, they just said that. But it's in the best way. And I would definitely say, if you are easily offended, I would not recommend seeing this, because there were points that even I raised an eyebrow and went, okay, movie, that's ballsy. One of the funniest things in this whole movie is JoJo's running, because he is talking to Hitler, and Hitler goes, you need to make your mark, you need to be like reckless, no, like don't even think, just go. And so he grabs a stick of dynamite and blows himself up. And I never thought I would laugh at a kid being blown up in 2019, but it's one of the hardest laughs I've gotten in the last 6 months. I went, oh my god, that's amazing. And it was interesting because Alea and I were sitting next to this guy. I wish I'd gotten his name. He was having maybe a funner time than both of us were. This guy was so happy. I think he'd had a couple drinks, but he was just like, oh my god, like, at this point he high-fived me. I was like, yeah, JoJo Rabbit. Like, this guy was so happy. He was so happy to be in that theater. And there was there's a little section of our theater who's clearly the offended bunch, who were like not laughing at anything at all. So if you were easily offended, this is not the movie for you. Just to throw that out there. But so Taika Waititi, he plays Hitler. He's a director on this, and he's a producer, and he's a screenwriter on this. And for a guy who's brown, he makes a surprisingly good Hitler. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it works surprisingly well for him. And if there's one complaint I have about this movie, and I never thought I'd say this, I could use a little more Hitler. I could just use a little more Hitler. A little more. Kind of like Calbo. I just need a little more Hitler. But what you do get from Waititi here in the acting capacity, it does work really well. Him and Roman Griffin Davis do have really good chemistry together. There's this whole scene where he's talking about how Elsa went ahead and kind of schools him. They have this one scene where basically she puts a knife to his throat, and he's like freaking out, and she got the drop on him, and and Hitler's talking to him, and he's like, "Oh man, that was intense. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't let her read your mind. You have to be careful." And you're sitting there watching this, and just the fact that this 10-year-old, 12-year-old, I think he's 10, but this kid is talking to Hitler about killing a Jew. It's just movies are amazing. Like I know I just saw Captain America lift up Mjolnir, but I could have predicted that. This was something I went in 2019. Don't think I ever would have seen this. That there'd be a Hitler movie that's making me laugh as hard as it is. It's got some of the best dialogue I've heard in a movie all year. I thought all the jokes, for the most part, really do hit. My biggest complaint about this movie is just because I don't like her, and considering what she was supposed to do in this, she doesn't have a huge role, thankfully, but it was still enough to kind of irritate me. Is Rebel Wilson. She is trying to not do her Australian accent, and you can just, it's killing her. It is hurting her heart to not be able to do that accent. So when she's trying to do a German accent, it just sounds like a really, really freaking terrible German accent, and it just doesn't work, and it felt like everyone else. I haven't even mentioned him yet, but Sam Rockwell, who is just one of the best actors that we have working, period. I haven't watched The Best of Enemies. I bought it. I need to watch it, but you saw him in Vice. He was great. He was great in Blaze. He's great in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He won. I believe he won an Oscar. Wait, yeah, he did win an Oscar for that. Yeah, I love him. Even the Poltergeist remake, which I forgot I actually saw, was really great. He's an incredible actor, and so whenever I get to see him in anything, I'm always happy. But he played Captain Klinsendorf, and what's so funny about him in the movie is that he's clearly over this. He does not want this war to keep going on. He just seems very nonchalant, like, all right, kids, I'm teaching you this, and this. And there's this whole gun display that he puts on about how to shoot a gun at the beginning of the movie that had me just in absolute stitches. It was absolutely amazing. JoJo's whole name, the reason he gets the name JoJo Rabbit is because his name's JoJo, obviously. But in this whole interrogation, this whole camp they send the kids to, this older guy, or like an older teenager, goes ahead and tells him, hey, you're willing to murder for Hitler, and like no fear, no mercy. And he's like, yeah, of course. And they tell him, oh, here's a rabbit, go ahead and just kill the rabbit. And I have a soft spot for rabbits anyways. I think rabbits are just the cutest thing in the world. So I'm seeing this rabbit with big black eyes. I'm like, please don't hurt the rabbit. I'm like, please hurt anyone else, but don't hurt the rabbit. And the scene works really well, and it just shows how, while this movie is funny, it is a funny freaking movie. Do not misunderstand. But I really appreciate that the movie never lets you forget about the horrors of the war itself. It really, it's a tough balance to strike. I thought he did just a great job. I thought the fact Taika didn't have either side of the spectrum as far as balance between it being too funny or not taking the war seriously enough. He found this perfect balance, I thought, start to finish, that I admire him for that alone, for being able to pull off that balance. As far as other stuff I enjoyed in the movie, one of the lines Hitler drops in this movie that I just went, oh my god, when he first discovers a girl, he even tells him, oh my god, you have to be careful. You have no idea how many Jews might be hiding in your walls. I was like, oh my god, okay. And the movie just no shame in this movie. Another thing Hitler said that just made me actually almost cry, but uncomfortable. He goes, he talks about, one Jew living in your walls is better than several Jews using their bat wings flying down chimneys hurting innocent Nazis. I was like, wow, Taika wrote that and went, yep, I'm keeping it in. And I thought that scene was absolutely amazing. The other line that I just thought, and there's several lines of dialogue here that killed me. There's a whole there's a whole interrogation scene with Steve Merchant and a couple guys with him that is one of the most tense scenes I've seen in a movie all year. As far as they're doing like a sweep to make sure that no one is hiding or anything illegal is happening in these houses, and oh my god, that scene in particular is just, oh, it's so nerve wracking. You're kind of squirming in your seat, going, "Oh God, please don't find the girl." It's a really well done scene. I'm dancing around a lot of this movie. I know we typically say full spoilers, but I really want people to experience this movie. So I'm actually going to kind of give my final thoughts and grade now. I thought this was so well done, and I have so much genuine admiration for Taika Waititi. I thought the way he balanced all the tones, the way that you never forget where this movie is taking place. You're always aware of that. And the movie does a good job of keeping that in the forefront, but still giving you time to laugh. And how intense the movie gets. There's a scene that Alea and I looked at each other like, oh my god, there's a scene in a town square, and that's all I'm going to say. And that scene just makes you go, oh my god. Like, it is just like a stone hits your stomach. It's an incredibly well done scene. And the way this movie ends, to just the score of the movie, to how it's shot, to seeing Hitler dance, which is something I never thought I would see. There's so much great about this movie, and I'm kind of being nitpicky, admittedly, but I just don't like Rebel Wilson. She always bothers me for the most part. It was really cool to see something this well made come together the way it did, and this will be something that, come Oscar season, I'm really curious how it's going to get, if it's going to get any sort of nominations, because it should. It really should, for as well done. This might be a Best Original Screenplay nominee. Actually, I'm going to call it right now. I think this will get a Best. I think they'll get a Best Original Screenplay nomination. It really should, because this was just so incredibly well done. And Taika, well done, sir. I can't wait for Thor: Love and Thunder. But this was just a blast, and I actually might go see this again next week after I've seen the other stuff I need to see. I might make a point to go see this again. I really enjoyed this. But guys, JoJo Rabbit, have you seen it yet? Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearmanthefirst. That's Nearman the first. And you can follow Colin on Twitter at TheReal. That's REEL O'Neal. And you can go ahead and subscribe to us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, and Spotify at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. By the time you guys hear this, it'll be Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day. We'll have reviews up this weekend for, I'm going to go see the Twilight Zone 60th anniversary special, so I'll have a review up for that. And I'll have a review up as well for Charlie's Angels. Hopefully that's better than the trailers and making it look. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Take care.